Hey everybody, how you doing? My name is Haisam, and today I'm going to be walking you through a recipe that I have, very basic. It's kind of my go-to. Yeah, I usually do it for meal prep for when I work shifts. I kind of make it and pre-package everything beforehand, and it'll last me for a few days. Basically pork chops and then mashed sweet potato that I use. And to start off, the basic condiments that you will need are, of course, pork chops, and I like to season them with mojo and some bitter orange. You don't really have to use this; it's a preference of mine. And you can get this at any Giant or Safeway in the Hispanic food aisle. It's really good. It got garlic and some other spices in it that really bring out the flavor in pork or any other meats. But I chose to do pork chops. They're actually a really good price, which is why I bought them. But I let them season for a few hours. We'll be using garlic. I love garlic, so I'll be using regular garlic for the pork chops, and I'll be using powdered garlic for the sweet mashed potatoes, but that's later on. Mortar and pesto, I'm a big fan of that. I like to using the garlic before I cook the pork chops. 2 onions, because I'm having 4 pork chops, so you want to have a good amount of veggies. So 2 onions, 2 bell peppers, extra virgin olive oil, of course, and then just regular sweet potatoes. And then for the sweet potatoes, I'm going to be adding butter, garlic powder, and Himalayan pink salt. Just a preference, you can use regular salt just as well. And that's really it for the condiments that you will need to make this, and it's, I think, pretty budget friendly and very easy. So I basically what I do is I wash and get any dirt off the sweet potatoes. I like with the skin on. I don't cut them or anything like that. That's just my preference. You can peel them if you want, but I just make sure they're nice and clean before I boil them. Run over cold water and wash every single one individually. And then what I'll do is I'll put them in a pot. All right, put some water. Put some salt. Throw the mashed potatoes in, and then fill it up with water until they're evenly covered. And then I put them on medium-high heat until they start boiling. And this is the part that takes the longest. So I like to do this from the get-go, so that while I'm doing everything else, they're slowly boiling, and by the end they'll be ready. So it'll be the first step, and also be the last step. Yeah. So for the garlic, what I like to do is break it up, and then when I have this skin on, I smash it with a knife or one of these. Makes the skin easier to take off, and you just throw it in here. And I'm gonna use 6 garlic cloves. 6 garlic cloves. Smash them up pretty nice, and then once they're ready, throw them in the skillet. As far as oil, what I like to do, I make sure the pan's hot first. I put it on medium heat, and I put just enough to cover half the pan. So maybe about 2. So for this size pan or skillet, 2 tablespoons is what I would say. And then wait for it to heat up. And smash the garlic. Not completely, but until they look like that, and you can see just the juice kind of already came out, so it's ready to be cooked. The sweet potatoes are already on the fire. It's on medium high. I put about ½ tablespoon of salt at the bottom. Threw the sweet potatoes in, and then I filled it up with water all the way to the top. And like I said, that's gonna take the longest. Once this gets a little bit hotter, I'll throw the garlic in, and then I'll wait for it to kind of start giving off that smell. It's a little bit of smoke. You don't want to overcook them too much, because it will continue to cook with the rest of the meat, so you want to burn them. But you want to make sure that they are starting to give that flavor. And then once the garlic does that, then I'll go ahead and add the pork chops. with the rest of the seasoning, and then I'll cover it on low heat, and I'll show you what that looks like later. Pork chops are already in. The garlic was already ready to go, and just a little bit of marinade. I'm gonna throw it in, and then I just pour it over the chops, and I put this on medium low heat for a little bit, and then I cover it so the juices will get nice into the meat. And then while this is happening, then I take that time to go ahead and chop up the rest of the vegetables, really. 2 onions and 2 bell peppers. You can use any other vegetables you like. But my go-to are always onions and bell peppers, whether they're green, yellow, or red. And the sweet potatoes are still going on, so it's taking a while to heat up and go. So that's gonna be the slowest part. So for the vegetables, the way I like to cut them is not too small or not too big, because I'll be throwing them in the skillet once I'm done with the meat. So I like to get them like bite-sized, if you will, because if not, they'll cook too fast, or they'll get just very soft and gooey. And if you reheat the food or anything like that, they're not gonna be as good. So a little bit bigger, kind of bite-sized is what I recommend, so that it kind of goes with, fits in your fork and all that when you're eating. So it's recommend. Don't cut them too small, but you can always cut them to your preference. This is just how I like to do it. The pork is cooking here, simmering with the marinade, and I'm about to flip them here in a minute. And that's it for now. All right, so I already flipped the pork chops once, and I turned the heat up to medium high for medium low. And once it starts bubbling or boiling, take the cover off so it'll burn off all the excess juices. And then, as you can see, the sweet potatoes have already started to boil, so that's a good sign. And you just want to keep flipping them. I like to flip them every 2 minutes or so they evenly cook on both sides. But yeah, looking good. You just want to make sure all that extra water gets burned off. So you can go ahead and throw in the veggies after that. So sometimes when there's a lot of juices coming out of the meat and seasoning, like in this case, there's a lot of water, and I don't want to leave it on such a high heat, the meat on such a high heat for a long time, because pork will dry out very, very quickly. So what I like to do is, so they're for the most part cooked, but I'll take them out, put them on the side. And then I'll turn the heat up to on high, so that all that excess water will burn off without burning all of it. You just want it to evaporate, and then you can throw in the vegetables, and then the meat, and then just cook it on high so it sears the meat, and then it's ready to go. So for the sweet potatoes, these are almost done, and what I like to do is, as they're to be boiling, you want to get a knife or something sharp, and then just try to stab them. And if it goes in like halfway and they're still not boiled enough, but at least you need a little bit as opposed to a lot of time longer in the pot. That's how I measure how much more time they need. Once you can go through all the way, then they're ready. The top ones, because the bottom ones will be cooked more than the ones at the top. So you just check the top ones, and then you should be good. Want your skillets look like that. Most of the liquid's been burnt off. So now you're ready to put the pork chops back in, sear them, and then once they're seared, then you can put the veggies in. And this has been on high the whole time, just making sure it cooks, burns off all the excess liquid. So give it up to boil yourself is already There's oil jumping out. Make sure you don't burn yourself. But you want to sear them for about maybe a minute or so. I kind of go by the look. Once it's nice and crispy or well seared, burn on the outside, then I flip them. What you want your pork chops to look like, nice and seared. A nice, burnt in some parts, just a little bit. So these are done. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw in the veggies, and I'm gonna turn down the heat, and I'm gonna cover it so they kind of steam in there with the flavor. Because I don't like to overcook my veggies too much, just enough, just so I get the full flavor of the vegetables as well as the full flavor of the pork chop. And these are done, and then I'll show you guys the next step, how to do it. This is what the sweet mashed potatoes look like. They obviously need salt, so I'm gonna put some salt. Salt's to taste. But that's what they look like, and then that's what the pork chop and veggies look like. So if you see, they're nice and they're steamed, but just have a little bit of crunch, right? But nice and steamed. They got some of the flavor of the pork chops too. So that was the whole idea. Not waste any flavor, not waste any part of the ingredients. So. All right, so something that I like to do personally, you don't have to do this, is what I like to do, take advantage of. So there's still some oil and some spices, some flavor left here in the skillet. So what I'm gonna do is just throw in the sweet mashed potato, and it's on high heat to cook them for just a little bit until they absorb all that extra flavor that's in there. And then once that's done, then I throw them back here in the bowl. But I put it on high, and I mix it all up, make sure it gets all that flavor from the pork chops and the veggies. Pretty fast, easy process. Just make sure you get all that. So really nothing goes to waste, which is pretty convenient, I think so.